Before the first star ignited in the void, before angels assembled in their stations, before time itself began to measure the passage of eternity, there existed a record, not carved into stone by mortal hands, not inscribed on parchment by scribes, but written in a substance older than matter. Pure intelligence, crystallized intention, cosmic law made visible to beings who had not yet been created to read it. Ancient traditions across Persia, the valleys of Mesopotamia, the mystical currents of early Jewish thought, and the Hermetic schools of Alexandria spoke of this primordial text. They called it the heavenly book, the tablet of destiny, the record before time. It was not a chronicle of past events. It was the blueprint from which reality itself would unfold. Within its luminous pages lay the architecture of existence, the measures of celestial cycles, the names of angels not yet formed, the destinies of nations not yet born, the laws governing worlds that had not yet coalesced from chaos. This was not myth seeking to explain creation. This was cosmology grappling with a metaphysical necessity. If the universe operates according to order rather than randomness, where is that order stored before manifestation? The answer returns again and again across tradition. In a book written before the act of writing existed, in a text composed before language, in a record that precedes the very concept of record keeping. The idea of a pre-existent divine record emerges from the deepest strata of Near Eastern cosmology. In Mesopotamian tradition, the tablet of destinies represented sovereign cosmic authority. Whoever possessed it controlled the fundamental laws governing heaven and earth. This was not symbolic administrative power. It was ontological. The tablet contained the operational principles of reality itself. The myths tell of its theft and recovery precisely because possession of this tablet meant possession of cosmic sovereignty, the ability to decree what would be and ensure that decree became manifest. The Enochian literature develops this concept with extraordinary precision. First, Enoch describes books opened before the throne of glory, containing records of angelic hierarchies, measurements of cosmic time, and the predetermined courses of celestial luminaries. These were not books recording what had happened. They were books determining what would happen, consulted before the unfolding of creation stages. The heavenly tablets contained the complete calendar of cosmic events, the stations assigned to angels before their appointment, the measures of years and seasons before the sun began its circuit. Persian cosmology introduced a parallel understanding through Asha, cosmic order, truth, and righteous law existing before manifestation. In Zoroastrian thought, Asha was not created. It was the eternal principle according to which creation would proceed. It represented cosmic law in its pure state, before it became encoded in matter, time, or moral commandment. Against Asha stood Druj, chaos, lie, disorder. But Asha held ontological priority. The battle between them was not between equals, but between primordial structure and its negation. Early Jewish mystical writings expanded these notions into increasingly complex visions of celestial archives. The idea emerged that divine wisdom possessed a written dimension, that creation followed a template, that the ordering of chaos required a pre-existing pattern. This was not metaphor. It was cosmological necessity. Fragments from Qumran speak of books in which all deeds are recorded, but deeper currents suggested books in which all deeds were first written before any being existed to perform them. Hermetic philosophy articulated this through the concept of logos, divine intelligence as structured, articulated, intelligible, before becoming embodied in the cosmos. The logos was not merely creative force, it was architectonic intelligence, the comprehensive design that would shape matter into meaningful form. In Hermetic thought, mind precedes cosmos, but not as blank consciousness, as comprehensive structure, as complete intelligibility waiting to express itself in physical form. The metaphysical problem these traditions addressed was fundamental. Order cannot emerge from pure chaos without a principle of order existing prior to the emergence. If reality displays structure, proportion, law, and intelligibility, these qualities must pre-exist in some form. The heavenly book was the answer, a record not of what is, but of what shall be, written in the eternal present, before time began its sequential unfolding. It solved the paradox of how cosmos emerges from chaos without reducing creation to arbitrary divine whim or blind mechanical necessity. The heavenly book was not physical. It was not bound in leather, not inscribed on clay, not carved into stone tablets like the commandments given on mortal mountains. It existed in a substrate preceding matter, pure light, concentrated intelligence, living fire, structured mind before mind had contents to structure. Ancient seers struggled to describe its substance because human language developed to name physical things, and this was more fundamental than physicality. Within this luminous record lay the complete architecture of manifestation. The laws governing the movements of celestial spheres were written there, not as descriptions, but as determinative principles. The orbits would follow these laws because the laws preceded the spheres, establishing the channels through which motion would occur. The names of angels appeared in its pages before those angels received form or station, their identities fixed in the eternal record before time allowed them to assume those identities. The measures of cosmic cycles, the durations of ages, the sequences of world periods, all recorded before the first moment elapsed. In Enochian literature, time itself is measured in the heavenly book before temporal sequence begins. The calendar of celestial movements exists complete before sun or moon enters the sky. This was not prediction but predetermination, not forecasting but foundation laying. The destinies of nations were inscribed in its characters, not predictions based on observation, but foundational decrees establishing the framework within which free action would occur. The book contained the boundaries of possibility itself, the channels through which time would flow, the structures that would shape contingency into coherent narrative. To say a nation's destiny was written was not to eliminate its choices, but to establish the landscape within which those choices would unfold and produce their inevitable consequences. In the Enochian visions, these books appear opened before the throne of glory during moments of cosmic judgment and revelation. Enoch sees them consulted, their contents made visible to angelic hierarchies who execute their decrees. They are not being written in these moments. They are being read, their pre-existent contents disclosed to beings capable of comprehending them. The angels do not discover what will happen. They discover what already is, in the eternal dimension where the book exists complete. Persian tradition understood Asha as this same pre-cosmic principle, not a book in form, but the essence of what a heavenly book represents: fixed law, eternal order, truth that precedes all manifestation. Asha was the pattern according to which Ahura Mazda would create the material world, the standard against which all subsequent existence would be measured. It was cosmic righteousness encoded before there were beings to be righteous, justice established before there were actions to be judged just or unjust. Hermetic texts describe the Logos as written architecture, divine mind articulated before creation, structured intelligence waiting to imprint itself upon formless matter. The cosmos would become a readable text because it emerged from a text, an intelligible pattern that predated the physical universe it would shape. To read the cosmos was therefore to recover the pre-existent Logos, to perceive the structure that manifested as matter and force and time. Early mystical traditions within Judaism developed increasingly sophisticated concepts of primordial letters, divine speech as creative force, and the notion that Torah itself existed before creation. Not the scroll given on Sinai, but the cosmic principle of instruction and order that Sinai's revelation would partially disclose. The letters were not symbols imposed on reality, but constituent elements of reality, the fundamental units from which existence was composed. This was reality's operating system, revealed across traditions. Creation as the execution of a program written before programming existed. Manifestation as the reading aloud of a text composed in eternity. Time as the sequential disclosure of what exists simultaneously in the eternal present of divine intelligence. The universe did not gradually develop structure. It unfolded structure that preceded it. The heavenly book represents something more fundamental than celestial record-keeping. It is the structure of divine intelligence itself, made visible through the metaphor of writing. To understand why ancient cosmology repeatedly invokes the image of a pre-existent text is to grasp a core insight about the relationship between mind and matter, intelligence and manifestation. The book is not a recording device, but the primary structure, consciousness articulated before there were contents to record. Writing is the act of ordering chaos. It transforms undifferentiated potential, blank surface, formless material, into structured meaning through the application of intelligible patterns. Letters are not arbitrary. They are conventional forms that carry specific values, combine according to laws, and generate meaning through their relationships. A written text is chaos, subjected to order through the imposition of intelligence. The blank page represents pure possibility. The inscribed page represents possibility channeled into actuality through the application of structured thought. Writing does not merely describe order, it creates order by imposing pattern on formlessness. The heavenly book existing before creation represents mind before matter, pure intelligence in its structured state, prior to embodiment in physical form. It is not mind thinking randomly or chaotically, but mind as coherent system, as organized architecture, as comprehensive pattern waiting to be instantiated. The Hermetic Logos captures this precisely. Logos is not mere creative impulse or divine will acting arbitrarily. It is divine mind articulated, structured, made intelligible to itself. The Logos is cosmic code, not metaphorically but ontologically. It is the comprehensive set of instructions according to which the universe will operate, written in a language more fundamental than any human tongue. Letters, names, and measures function as the scaffolding of existence in this framework. They are not symbols representing reality from outside. They are the constitutive elements of reality itself. To know the true name of a thing is to know its essential structure. To understand the measures of cosmic cycles is to comprehend the temporal architecture within which all events occur. This explains why ancient thought consistently imagined reality as written rather than built, as inscribed rather than sculpted, as composed rather than assembled. Writing produces meaning through relationship and structure. A building is made of discrete parts. A text is made of interconnected significance. The universe, if it is intelligible rather than random, must be text-like in its fundamental nature, a coherent communication rather than an arbitrary assemblage. The pre-existence of the book solves the problem of how order emerges from chaos. It cannot emerge. It must be imposed from a source that already possesses order. The heavenly book is that source. Eternal structure, existing before the temporal unfolding it will govern. The Enochian literature presents the heavenly book with vivid cosmological detail. In 1st Enoch, tablets and books appear opened before the throne of glory during scenes of judgment and revelation. These are not being composed in the moment. They are being consulted. The records of angelic hierarchies and their assigned stations exist before the angels themselves receive those stations. The measurements of time, the movements of sun, moon, and stars through their courses, appear written in celestial books before the luminaries begin their movements. Time is measured before time begins, recorded in eternity before it enters temporal sequence. Persian cosmology encoded this same principle through Asha, cosmic order, law, and truth existing before manifestation. In Zoroastrian thought, Asha was not created by Ahura Mazda. It was the eternal principle according to which Ahura Mazda would create. It represented righteous cosmic law in its pure, unmanifest state. Destiny was not determined after events occurred. It was woven into the fabric of existence before matter coalesced. The book, in Persian terms, was Asha itself, fixed law preceding and governing all subsequent becoming. Hermetic philosophy articulated the heavenly book through the concept of logos, divine intelligence, as structured, articulate, and intelligible, before becoming embodied in the material cosmos. The logos was not creative impulse alone. It was architectonic mind, comprehensive design, cosmic reason existing as eternal pattern. To Hermetic thought, the cosmos was readable because it was written, intelligible because it emerged from intelligence, meaningful because it instantiated a meaning that preceded its physical form. Early proto-Kabbalistic currents within Jewish mysticism developed concepts of primordial letters and divine speech as creative force. The idea emerged that Torah existed before Sinai. Not the scroll, but the principle, the cosmic instruction according to which reality would be ordered. Letters of divine language were understood not as arbitrary symbols, but as fundamental forces, creative powers through which the transition from nothing to something would occur. This was the heavenly book in Jewish mystical terms, wisdom existing before the world it would shape. The existence of the heavenly book carries implications that ripple through every dimension of cosmological thought. It establishes first that the cosmos is not random. It operates according to intelligible structure, follows coherent law, manifests meaningful pattern. Chaos is not the primordial state. Ordered intelligence precedes the manifestation we perceive as chaotic only because we cannot yet read the underlying text. What appears as disorder from within temporal sequence reveals itself as profound order when viewed from the eternal perspective where the book exists complete. Randomness is illusion born from partial perspective. Creation, in this framework, unfolds according to an intelligible pattern. It is not divine improvisation or arbitrary will imposing itself on formless void. It is the systematic execution of a comprehensive program, the temporal disclosure of what exists eternally in the simultaneity of divine mind. Every subsequent moment reads out another line of the pre-written text. Each event, each transformation, each emergence of novelty follows pathways established before time began. The appearance of spontaneity masks underlying determinative structure, not mechanical causation, but cosmic grammar, the syntax according to which meaningful existence proceeds. Time itself becomes reconceived as the reading of eternity. What exists all at once in the heavenly book unfolds sequentially in temporal experience. Past, present, and future are not separate realities, but different positions in the single coherent text of existence. To exist in time is to experience sequentially what exists simultaneously in the eternal present where the book was written. This framework allows fate, law, and freedom to coexist without contradiction. The book establishes boundaries, structures, and patterns, the channels within which possibility flows. But within those channels, genuine contingency operates. Destiny is not the elimination of choice. It is the architecture within which choices occur and produce real effects. The text is fixed, but conscious beings read it from within, experiencing it as genuine openness rather than predetermined inevitability. Angels, in this cosmology, function as readers, interpreters, and executors of the heavenly book. They do not act according to personal will or arbitrary decision. They consult the eternal record and enact its contents in temporal sequence. This is why angelic hierarchies possess books and tablets in the ancient visions. They are administrators of cosmic law, beings positioned between eternity and time, who can perceive the pattern and implement its unfoldment. Knowledge becomes dangerous precisely because to read the heavenly book is to see beyond time. It is to perceive the structure underlying contingency, to comprehend the pattern that shapes apparently free events, to grasp the totality that temporal beings experience only sequentially. This knowledge does not merely inform, it transforms the knower, repositioning consciousness outside the flow it normally inhabits. The heavenly book predates creation, not by temporal measure, for time itself begins with the first reading of its pages, but by ontological priority. It exists in the eternal now, where past and future collapse into simultaneous presence, where what will be and what has been coexist in undifferentiated completeness. It cannot be read with eyes, for eyes belong to creatures the book predetermines. It was written in light before light existed as physical phenomenon, written in concentrated intelligence, pure structure, divine mind, articulated before there were minds to articulate. The substance of its pages is meaning itself, prior to the symbols that would later carry meaning. This is the record where time, destiny, and creation converge, where the eternal structure meets temporal unfolding, where cosmic law encoded before matter shapes the matter that emerges, where intelligence precedes and determines the intelligible universe. Ancient traditions preserved this knowledge not as primitive speculation, but as fundamental insight. Reality emerges from a text older than the universe, written in the language of pure being before language existed to name it. Before the first word of creation was spoken, the book contained every word that would ever be.